Hello, hello, hello. This is Avery. Well, this is Avery. This is Same Team Sunday. I am your host, Avery Woodley. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me. I am actually outside. So if you hear some noises, if you hear a kid screaming, if I jump up and run, that's because something may be behind me. If you hear a kid screaming, it's not mine. It's a lovely neighbor who likes to scream a lot. So I am outdoors. It was amazing here. It was like 90 degrees in St. Louis today. It's cooling off, and I just need to kind of woosah. Even though I was out at football all day, but being outside, hearing the birds, which you probably can hear as well, and all of that, it just does something for my soul. So I wanted to be out here and do our little stream tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. And let's see. We have, hold on one second, you guys. I'm going to these comments. All right. So I actually have a guest who is returning and joining us this evening. It is David. He was actually on the Mother's Day stream. All right. So today he's just joining me, and we're just doing a few different topics. We're not going to talk about any one thing. We're kind of doing this thing where we go down a list of topics, and it's all similar to this or that. I'm going to give the woman's perspective. David is obviously going to bring the man's perspective. We'll kind of hash out. And it's nothing that we're having disagreements on. It's just we're representing both sides, and we're just going to give our input. So we will also be checking the chat. If there's anything that you guys, like a question that you have or anything that you guys want to talk about, then go ahead and add that in there. I do have a few guidelines or stipulations, okay? The topics that we're choosing, we're actually almost timing them. So it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to speak on it, or he's going to speak on it. Then we'll switch time, ding, 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 and we're moving on to the next topic. So make sure it's something that we can touch on a little bit, touch on enough of it within a short amount of time. Because, of course, there are certain topics that we can sit here and talk for hours and hours and hours about. So we're keeping these a little bit lighter today, and we're just going to, chime in this or that, man's perspective, woman's perspective, and then move on to the next topic. Oh, hello. How are you? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Oh, and then we're also going to go over really quick. So if you want to let people know, I am also going to discuss the last Kevin Samuels Instagram live. I'm going to touch on that a little bit. And I did a review on it. I'm going to touch on that. And even though David was not probably able to watch it, but I'm just going to give him some examples, and I just want to get his input on that. So we're just going to kind of hop on through. And yes, don't forget, use the chat if there's something that you want to hear us talk about or any questions that you have, and we'll try to do that. Today's just going to be kind of like fun, free-flowing, and it may last an hour, it may last 30 minutes, but I know I definitely want to get David's input on some of these topics for sure. Okay, I'm going to bring him in. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so your internet connection, it looks better than our little check-in earlier. Did you move?
Okay, no, I didn't. I thought you were gonna say it was still bad. So if it's good, we're good. I'm not in my normal space right now, so I can't really control that. But I kind of moved around the house a few times, and this seems to be the best place. So
oh no, it's
hopefully
awesome.
It works out.
It's awesome. Hello, Ronald. Hey, Reckless. Let me see. Gracious Greatness. Hello. Okay, so no, it looks good. Really quick for you guys that are just joining us, this is Same Team Sunday. We're going to call it a sound off for now. If you guys want to call it anything else, go ahead and leave some comments, or you can comment on my social media or on the YouTube page. But what I'm going to start doing maybe once or twice a month is we'll do like a sound off. It'll just be, I'll obviously represent the women, and then we'll have another guest. David probably will be doing the sound off most of the time. If any of you guys ever want to join in, let me know. And we're just going to cover certain topics within a stream. It may be 5 topics, it may be 10 topics. We kind of give our input, and then move on to the next topic. So that's what we're doing today. And David is joining us from, where are you at this week, David?
I am. Where am I this week? Like, I'm all over the place.
Where's your physical location first?
My physical location this week, I'm currently in Milwaukee right now.
Okay.
So just out here doing some training and getting the next fight. So, and checking in with the same team on the Sundays as usual. Nothing changes there. So I appreciate you for having me back. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, no, thank you. I know you're in the middle, like you just mentioned, you're in the middle of training. So you guys, David is training for his next upcoming fight. Sundays are his off day. So he was actually, has been traveling a lot, training a lot. So thank you for joining us. I just want to tell you thank you again. And also, if we do have any internet connection problems or anything like that, like he said, he is out of town. He's in a different location. So if the Wi-Fi isn't as strong and goes in and out, just bear with us and be patient with that. But yes, thank you for joining us. I really
No, I look
appreciate
forward to it. It's a nice little break from the norms.
it. Good. And this is gonna be so
So
this is gonna be
I
fun.
look.
You can definitely throw some questions out there for me when we get to the topics. You know, go ahead and throw some stuff out there if you want to get my opinion. Try to catch me off guard if you want, but it'll be fun. Good evening, Michael. How are you? Oh, David froze. Okay, so David froze. We were just talking about his internet connection being, at first it was pretty decent and then it just froze. So I'll
Let
wait for
me,
him. Oh, are you coming in?
let me check everything off of the.
Okay. All right. So David, I'll let you finish getting adjusted. Let me see. Gracious greatness.
Okay.
Okay. I
We were
definitely
doing
understand.
good. I don't know what happened.
It's okay. You're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
respond to gracious greatness really quick before about Kevin Samuels before we get into the rest of the topics. I definitely understand your perspective for sure. I think I don't watch a lot of them. I've watched a few of them, and when I watch people talk about certain topics, especially certain topics that I feel are close to home or just things that I may have personally been through, I watch them like it's like I'm completely taking myself, and I know this might sound weird, but I'm completely taking myself out of it and anything personal and just just trying to watch it, okay? Because I can understand, like I can pick apart and understand some of the message. Okay, so I have gotten really used to trying to separate the message from the messenger, if that makes sense. And then also trying to find gems in there because a lot of times, people do have their different approaches, whether it's something that it's their approach because that's just their personality, or because it's trending, or because it's hot and it catches attention, whatever it is. Like, I respect that. Everybody has their own style. But what I do try and do is, whether I agree or disagree, I try to pull out certain things that I feel Black women and Black men alike need to hear. And if I do a review on it or touch on it, I try to do it from a different place. You know what I'm saying? As a woman, I try to soften it up a little bit. And yeah, if I am talking directly to the women, it may not be as soft, but I try to take some of the same points if I do agree with them and, you know, get them over in a different way, because some people will instantly get defensive, but they do it to me too. So there's people who can listen to the things that I have to say with open ears and open mind, and then there's people who can hear the exact same message and they instantly get defensive. But no, gracious greatness, I respect your perspective and I completely understand where you were coming from. For various reasons, I've tried to remain, neutral. If I agree with somebody, whether I like their delivery or not, I agree with, I agree with them. And then if I don't, I don't. Like, there's people that I love and respect, and there's some things that they say that I just don't necessarily agree with. But when it comes to some of these topics, I definitely try to filter through certain things and pull out what I feel is important, or pull out things that when I'm listening to, I'm like, oh, okay, I can speak on that. And then I try to do it from my voice and my perspective instead of trying to mimic somebody else. So he has his way of doing things, and I respect that. And so does everybody else. That's what makes us, unique. That's what makes us powerful, is that we can reach all different types of people. Like, there are people who may listen to him and love him, but they would never listen, they would never listen to me. But I do try to, like I said, and separate the message from the messenger for sure. Okay, Scott, I definitely understand what you're saying. And you know what? I think it is. It's because I think now the people that are constantly calling him, it's this, it's a lot of it is the same topics, or it is the same advice, because I think now what we're hearing more of is just kind of like a call in, almost like style, like hotline. So whatever the audience wants to talk about is kind of what's guiding the conversation. So if each week they're on there talking about modern women, do they want to settle down? Do they respect men? Do modern, can modern women be wives, or do they have to be single? All that kind of stuff. I think it's from like some of the stuff he puts out there, and that's stuff people, really want to talk about. So when people hit me up about reviewing certain people all the time, I can't necessarily do it because there are certain topics that I want to talk about that don't necessarily come up in other people's live streams. So I may want to talk about something and I may get 200 views, but it's something that's important to me. It's my passion, it's my purpose, it's my voice. And then I will chime in and do a review. I don't even think I do them once a month, maybe once a month or whatever. But I completely understand what you're saying with that as well. All right, so we are going to get into it. We are just going over a few topics tonight. You guys can go ahead and drop some comments or some ideas in the chat, and we're gonna get started. All right, David, are you ready?
I hope so. I hope my connection.
Okay, wait. Let me get my
better.
timer.
It was struggling there for a minute. I was a little worried, but
no. Okay, but if something happens, then we'll just keep going. Okay, you guys. I do have my phone out. I'm gonna get my timer going. If there is anything, so here's an example. First, we'll start with the first one. The first one we are going to go over is once a cheater, always a cheater. So I'm going to give you guys an idea of the topics, okay? They will range, but we're going to do once a cheater, always a cheater. David's going to give his perspective. I'm going to give mine. And it's quick. These aren't anything that we're going like digging deep down into the foundation, okay? These are just kind of things that you may see out there. We're going to give our perspective on them. So if you have anything like that, go ahead and drop it and we'll try to touch on it. Hello. Okay. Oh, Michael Jones, I agree with you really quick. Okay, he said, I think, and that's another thing that he does. That's what I do. When I listen and watch, it's not him that I'm listening to. I'm listening to the people. I'm listening to the people that come on and what they have to say. Well, especially, the women. I am listening strictly to them. And I think that's one problem that people have with me. They're like, how come you can't get on him about how he talks to women and this and this? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's his show. That's him. That's his style. That's his show. I'm not doing a review to critique him. I'm coming on there because I'm listening to what my sisters have to say. I'm listening to what my sisters and also what my sisters don't say, because that's where my interest is. It's like, okay, we need help. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need help. Some of the things women come on there and say, I'm like, and then some of them, their mindset, I completely get, because at one point I may have been like that. So it also, like you said, it does shed light on the delusion. But then for somebody like me, it also sheds light on the areas that I know we need help in and that we need to work on. So, all right. Okay. You guys, first question, let me get back to it, is once a cheater, always a cheater. David.
So once a cheater, always a cheater. Long story short, I supremely disagree. I was once a cheater. I cheated in a relationship. That's what it took for me to realize that I am not a cheater. The biggest lesson I learned from that is like just going through that experience, like the growth that it brought me. Granted, I hurt someone else, but just going through that whole experience, the last thing I could remember thinking to myself is like, I will never do that again. Right. You hurt other people, but then you also hurt yourself in the long run. So I disagree with that sentiment. I think people can learn and grow, adjust and adapt through relationship experiences, and cheating can be one of them. Right. Yeah, so I disagree. I have to say no to that one.
Okay, so you disagree. You do not believe once a cheater, always a cheater.
No.
Okay, now not to get into your business, and you did. You just said something very important. You were like, you hurt other people, but you also hurt yourself. I don't think a lot of people realize that depending on the situation, the relationship, that they are also, going to be, hurting themselves in the long run. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, granted, like, you're a person, you have morals and you have values, like, right from right. I mean, right from wrong, and you grow up, and like, once you go through that kind of experience, and once you see that, like, dang, I really want to hurt this person that I really care about, like, that just affects you in and of itself. But then it's also like, it's that shame, that shame that's attached to it. And then also you end up losing generally both people in that situation, or at least from my personal experience. It was like, yeah, like, I was cheating. I was doing what I was doing. There was a lot of gray area. I ain't making no excuses and stuff. I ain't making no excuses, but there was a lot of gray area. But
Right.
even within that, me trying to figure out and maneuver how I'm gonna work this situation, like I ended up losing someone that I cared about, and I ended up
Hmm.
losing someone that I was actually in love with at the same
Wow.
time. So then
Lost
you're
them
sitting
both.
there like, yeah, yeah, and it's like, dang, like, what do you really win? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Scott. Okay, Scott, really quick. Scott has a comment. I really want to highlight it, Scott, but I don't know if I can. Let me know. I know there was a comment from Michael, so real quick. Um, Michael said, cheater. Let me see. Cheater will always be a cheater. All right. Scott says he disagrees. It depends on the circumstances. David also disagrees. He does not believe once a cheater, always a cheater. All right. I my turn. David, what do you think I'm gonna say? Do you have an idea?
I don't know. I'm torn. I want to say I want us to be on the same team here, but then I feel like you're about to shock the world right now. So,
No, I'm not. I actually do not believe. Oh, see, it's a lot because I see where Michael's coming from, but I also see where you're coming from. I see where Scott's coming from. Um, oh, you know what? Okay, so that's a good idea. That's a good point too. Okay, so we'll get back to
oh,
that. Okay, so once a cheater, always a cheater. Just the blanket statement right there. I disagree. Okay, why do I disagree? Not just because I have cheated on people before, but so if we're not talking about Michael's comment, which we're going to get to, Michael, I love that. But just a blanket statement, I do not believe once a cheater, always a cheater. I agree with David as well. I have been on both ends of it. And I know the reasons why I have cheated in the past. I think I mentioned it before in another stream when we were talking about the Derek Jackson thing. When I was younger, if a boyfriend cheated, oh, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna cheat. Even if I didn't tell them I was cheating back, it's just because I felt like I had one up on them. So if they were
yeah.
like going out, I've never been the type of woman to run up behind a man and be like, "What are you doing? Where are you at?" Okay, well let me turn that back. Maybe I should have, but I probably do need to start doing that. But no, so like if they cheated when I was younger, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna cheat back, and I would keep it to myself because they're out like, oh, I'm going somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay, bye. Like knowing that I'm about to duck off and be up to no good. But that
Oh,
that was so that was me being immature. That was also sorry, there's an airplane going over. That was also a security, if that makes sense. It was like, okay, if you're going to do this, then I'm going to do it back to protect myself. Okay,
yeah.
it's sorry guys, it's an airplane going across me,
It
across the
happens.
top. Um, why am I out? Why am I doing this outside? You guys, this is like so. Well, I'll have somebody edit this out. Can you even hear me still?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So another reason why I have cheated it made me feel more secure. It was like, okay, just in case this person hurts me, like I'm going to do something first. It's like a
Yeah.
self-sabotaging. Even though if
Mhm.
they didn't know, but just inside it was like, okay, I just had, I had trust issues. And this is still when I was younger. Now, Michael said when he believes it's only cheating when somebody is married. Okay, because technically, like I feel like when you're younger or when you're like my situation in college, I wasn't about to marry any of those people or whatever. So Michael, that's a good point right there too.
If that's the case, I was never a cheater. I just want, I just want to take that back.
Right.
I ain't never cheated on nobody. No.
Oh yeah, because you're not married. But yeah, I feel you know what, and then I think it also depends on. Hold on, let me see. Somebody said tell the truth, Avery. I think it also depends on what was I gonna say? The circumstances of your relationship and friendship. Now, you know what? There are some things when it comes to cheating because people can say, "Oh," and we can get into it. Okay, did you have sex with this person? Were you just having intimate conversations? And when I say intimate conversations, are you developing a friendship with someone? Okay, so you're in a
Mhm.
relationship with, you and your significant other. Okay, me and David are together, but I'm talking to Michael. I'm using you because I'm seeing your comments. I'm talking behind the scenes. me and Michael have never physically been together or anything like that, but we talk throughout the day. We talk on a regular basis, and we have developed a friendship, a relationship, a bond. If I had a stressful day at work or if the kids got on my nerves, he may start to be the first person that pops up in my mind to talk to because of the bond that we have created. But he is not my man. I am in a relationship, you know, with David during this example. Do you think that's cheating?
Oh hell yeah, for sure. Most
Like that's
definitely,
terrible.
that's cheating. And
That is
it's not it's not even that you can't have like male relationships, you know,
I
that
wouldn't
are
get to
male.
that. Don't go into yeah.
It's not okay. Well, it's not even that you can't, but like you gotta draw a line like somewhere, right? You
Yes.
know, and it's not even the way I would compare that to. It's not even that. Well, I won't go into it because you said we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. But yeah, that's definitely emotional cheating for sure.
I feel okay. So something I feel like emotional cheating is to me emotional cheating is worse.
See, my situation started there, so it's like
A lot of them do.
being in a relationship to where I was unfulfilled, but I was at the time I wasn't man enough to cut the cord, and I didn't want to hurt anybody, right? So I ended up meeting someone who I connected with on an intellectual level and an emotional level,
Mm-hmm.
like I had never had before. And this person had found these text messages, right? And it wasn't anything scandalous. It was just a level of like intellect and intimacy that this person saw that I never had with the person I was in a relationship with. And that alone, I think, affected them more so than if it had been physical at that point. To know that, like, dang, you are able to connect with someone in a way that I've been trying to connect with you, but we've just never been able to. But then
Mm-hmm.
someone else, you know, like that definitely seems to hurt like a lot more
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm loving these comments. All right. So we have Scott, and he said, "Hold on, guys. Why aren't you telling me my little curl was sticking up?" All right.
Oh,
Scott
you can't see
said,
it. You're good.
"Cheating isn't about sex; it's about betrayal." I definitely agree with. It's not about sex. 'Cause I feel like you can cheat and never have sex with somebody else. Um, Somebody said, what else? It's the tit for tat retribution relationship strategy. That was me years ago, and it was childish, of course, childish, but you know, we do it. Okay, let's see. What else? We go back. Okay, so this is Michael and Scott going back and forth, having a good conversation. Oh, Michael said that you can't, as we're adults, you cannot have friends of. So, Michael, are you saying that you cannot have friends of the opposite sex? I think he said, as adults, we need to like understand, like, no, it's not happening. So, I guess you know what, David, and you brought that up a little bit. Not that necessarily, but you were talking
Mm,
about friends of the opposite sex. We're
yes.
gonna go ahead and go into that topic, you all. So, we did once a cheater, always a cheater. David said no, he does not agree. He does not think once a cheater, always a cheater. I also do not think on a general level, once a cheater, always a cheater. Now, there are some people who cheat and they will cheat on everybody that they're with. Okay. I do believe that it's circumstantial. Like sometimes, yes, sometimes people have cheated and it depends on the circumstances. Then you do have people who cheat, but they're really okay. They are cheating on the person that they're with, but really they're cheating on themselves. I know some people who have cheated on every single person they have been with in every single relationship, but it's so much deeper and it has nothing to do
To
with
do.
the other
Right.
people. It's all with them. They are cheating on themselves. They have cheated themselves in life. And that's something that's a lot deeper. So it's not like they're just like, oh, I'm with somebody and I can't be faithful. It's way deeper than that. So that's a different situation as well. So now we're going to go ahead and go into, all right, guys. So chime in on this. We already know what Michael's saying. We know what Scott is saying. Do you believe that um, men and women, oh, okay. Do you believe that we can have friends of the opposite sex? So that's the first part. Can we have friends of the opposite sex? As you know, and with that, if you're in a relationship, okay, can the person you're with have a friend of the opposite sex? Now, stipulation: can it be a new friend or an old friend? Or can you be with somebody and all of a sudden she has a new guy friend? Or did he already need to be grandfather claused in? All right, David, go ahead.
I would say you can, but that doesn't mean you necessarily should, right?
Mhm.
So if I am dating someone or whatever, and I have a female friend, which I don't really have female friends as a single guy. I find it hard to really establish genuine friendships with women who don't necessarily tend to want more at some point.
Yes.
The way that I look at it is, it's like when you first start like driving, right? You're
Mhm.
16, 17, you get your license, and you're a good driver. You've proven to your parents you're a good driver. You can go out on your own. What is the one thing they usually say? They say it's not you that I'm worried about. It's
Yeah.
everyone else on the road,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So in that situation with me, like if I'm with someone that has like a few guy friends or whatever, like it's not necessarily that person that I don't trust, because clearly if
Mhm.
I'm at the level to where we're established a relationship, there's some level of trust.
Right.
But there's no way in hell that you can't tell me that any of those those friends of yours, given the opportunity, the time, or the space to take advantage of that situation, that they wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I just don't trust that.
Right. Okay.
So
Good.
I would say you could, but you shouldn't. And once your relationship gets to a certain level, like you're married or whatever, like you probably shouldn't have friends of the opposite sex anyway.
Okay. Now, really quick, if somebody is married, I mean, I know you haven't been married, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is stuff that you. I mean, obviously, you may be married one day. This stuff we need to, that you can talk about. Now, if you are married and you have a friend of the opposite sex, um, do you think it needs to be a couple? And I don't mean swapping, but I mean, like you can't have like I know some people and they don't want men and women in their relationship. They have a boundary. It's like okay,
Yeah.
now of course you may have childhood friends or friends from college. You can't just
No.
completely cut them off just because you got married. But it's like okay, we're not hanging out. We're not talking on the phone a lot. We're not texting. And then I know some people that it's like okay, if we have friends, then we're all friends. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna
Yeah.
have if this is your homegirl from college and she's married now, then if they're gonna come around, it's gonna be her and her husband. It's not
Her
like you
husband.
all just
Yeah.
meeting for you and you and her meeting for lunch. Not
Yeah,
only
I
do
think
you know,
I'm. Yeah, I feel you. For me, that at the end of the day, that's a respect thing, right?
yes,
So it's not even about being scandalous or whatever. Like, if I have a female friend that is in a relationship and she's really my friend, like I'm gonna try to get to know the person she's in a relationship with, right?
mm-hmm,
One, so I can look out for my friend and make sure she's like with someone that really cares for her. But two, like I don't want there to be any confusion anywhere. Like, if
mm-hmm.
my friend is attached to someone, I should be attached to that person in some way, at least on a surface level, at the very least, out of respect for that man, as opposed to anything.
Okay, yes. You know what? Okay, so there's a few things. One, I have now. It's a fine line. Okay, I do believe. Ooh, you know what? I might agree with Michael. I used to be like, oh no, you can have guy friends, you can have girlfriends. Now, I think it depends on the circumstances and situations because I
Hmm.
have a guy, and if it's his homegirls that he has been friends with for years, but then I've met them, I absolutely love them. I'm like, okay, I'm stealing your friend from you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Now, these women can be in relationships or whatever, but they're almost more like family. But I don't believe that if we're grown, no new friends.
No new friend. Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh, I'm with
Yeah.
my homegirl at lunch. Or if he calls me and it's like, hey babe, what are you doing? Oh, I met this guy and we just started talking and we have so much in common. I think somebody else, Gracious Greatness, was talking about cheating. People cheating can be mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So say for example, I was like, oh, I met this guy and we just had this spiritual connection and we talked about so much. He's been through X, Y, and Z, so we just connected. We're gonna meet for lunch. That sounds crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It could be completely innocent. It does just sound crazy. Once again, it goes back to what you and your partner can agree to disagree on, or, if you have your boundaries or your conversations. And a lot of things, one thing that I know is for sure, these types of conversations, some people are in relationships and they don't have them. But all of a
Yeah.
sudden, somebody's like, oh, my homegirl's in town, or, oh, oh no, he's my friend from college. And it's like, wait a minute. It's like, why are we not having these conversations beforehand? And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, these are the ground rules. Like, no new friends. Or, hey, if this is somebody that you slept with 10
Yeah, I
years
was just
ago,
gonna.
10 years
Yeah,
ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, or whatever. No, I don't want you to be. No, you can't say you're friends. I don't want you guys to be friends. If it
that
happened one
that's
time,
that's an important part and a important distinction to make. I've definitely found myself in that situation. Just
mm-hmm,
being trusting of someone to be like, oh, like this person's a friend and this person's a friend, and then things go south, and then it's like, oh, like dang, like we were just friends, but then we were working on something else. But then, like, you're just friends with this guy, but you're having a sexual relationship with this friend. You're just
mm-hmm,
friends with this guy, but you're having an emotional connection with this guy. So,
right,
like, things can get kind of weird and, like, lines can get crossed. And, like, I definitely think it's important to establish those boundaries. Like, first and foremost, like,
mm-hmm,
what do you classify as a friend? Like, me
right,
as a single male, like, I don't have too many friends, if any, that I've had sexual relationships with.
right,
I'll say I know of her. That's someone I have associated with in the past, but we're not talking on a day to day basis, and
right.
definitely wouldn't consider that person a friend. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes
And
sense.
I think some people use friends too lightly. But all I know is that, look, if I'm in a serious relationship with somebody, and there does have to be some guidelines, and they have to go some rules. They have to go both both ways for sure. But I know some people are like, oh, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. It's like, there has to, you got to have something. You got to draw the line somewhere. Because, like you said, it may not be that I don't trust the person I'm with, but what about them? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you have friends who also fall in love with each other over time and over the
yeah,
years. You know what I'm saying? Which it's a natural human response, especially if it's somebody that you can talk to about anything, somebody that has loved you at your lowest, somebody who supports you and all of that. Because obviously even romantic relationships grow, like really strong ones, they're friends first. You
yeah,
definitely have that
yeah.
bond first.
Hmm.
So once again, I think it depends. Well, it doesn't depend, but a lot of people, I get it. Like Charles said, he has no female friends. And also, when we get to a certain point, you also have to, I feel like, as a woman, I don't need to have male, sorry, you guys, bugs flying all around me. I don't need to have any like male friends that are trying to hold me accountable and tell me like how to be. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like now
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to have some strong women in my corner. You know what I'm saying? Some strong women who are going to push me and make me better as a woman. For you,
Mm.
it's like you need some good men. You know what I'm saying? Like you need those brothers. You need that those accountability partners, so to speak. You need that as a man.
Hmm.
So
100%.
okay, Scott said if you're going to have ground rules, they need to be upfront. They need to be discussed and understood 100%. And Scott, that's what we're saying. With some of these people they never have any of these conversations until something comes up. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's say we're having a housewarming. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, who is this? Oh, that's my homegirl. I invited her. It's like, well, how come I've been with you and I've never met your homegirl? I never heard about her. You know what I'm saying? So then something happens, and then it's like, okay, in that moment now, somebody's already bothered, or their feelings are hurt, or they feel disrespected. So now in that moment, you're trying to figure it out.
And then it plants a seed of doubt too
Mm-hmm.
in the end, because it's like, man, like I felt like we're at this level in a relationship, like this would have been brought up at some point, and it's like,
Right.
dang, what else are you not bringing up? What else are you
Mm-hmm.
keeping from me? So
For sure.
it's
Okay.
a
So
slippery slope.
it is a slippery slope. All right. Next up, turn off and turn on. You guys can go ahead and comment. I want to hear something that turns you off about the opposite. Like, well, for you, what is one of your biggest turn offs when it comes to opposite sex? You guys, this is not a sexual question. Okay. So, what is your biggest turn off, and what is one of your biggest turn ons? David, go
Dang,
ahead with your turn off.
one of my biggest turnoffs. Well, since I'm getting back into the dating game most recently, or at least I'm
Mhm.
attempting to. One thing that I noticed that even I'm learning about myself is like a woman that like can't make a decision. I don't know what it is. Like indecisiveness to me,
Mhm.
it just doesn't sit well with me. Scott
That's
Clark
me.
smoking is a huge turn off. But if I could see the finest woman in the world, like I don't care what you look like, but I see you put a cigarette in your mouth
Mhm.
to rap. But me personally, just the indecisiveness and like the type of woman that just like goes along with like everything. So in our last same team, we kind of talked about like the idea of me liking like a strong woman, and I think maybe that's something that has something to do with it.
Right.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, you just froze, but I could hear you
Oh,
fine.
shit.
Okay, well, I can still hear you
Okay.
talking.
All right.
So yeah,
Are we
David
back?
said, David said he does not like a woman that's completely
All right. Well,
indecisive.
that's the turn off for me.
Okay, turn off. Turn on once your connection works. Oh, here, you know what we'll do, David? While you're working on that, David did his turn off, an indecisive woman. My turn off.
Hmm.
And then we'll do my turn off, and we'll go back and forth. Okay, my turn off. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. No, one of my biggest turn offs are gossipy men who gossip, messy men. I do not like
Yeah.
messy men. I do not like messy men. And when I say messy, the types of men, like when I say men, like grown, we're too grown to be doing it. Ones that are
Yeah.
like you. So when I say messy, it's a few things. Men who hate. Okay, so if say they're interested in a woman and it doesn't go, like there's okay. I'm gonna use myself as an example. I'm putting myself in the chopping block. There have been times where I have talked to a few different guys and just dating, nothing serious, just dating, and say, kind of weighing my no, weighing my options, but no, just no, but just like I'm grown, just like talking to people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yet
Yeah.
not trying to be in a serious relationship, then or whatever, but just talking to people. And then there have been some that I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I can be very dismissive, a little bit, but like, okay, it's cool. Nothing major happened. Just it kind of ran its course. I'm bored, or we're just moving on, or whatever, And if I've ended up with somebody else like really serious, it's like they're almost like they're mad that I was committed and serious and loyal to that other person. Like they're mad that I chose that man over them. But when I say grown, we're talking like people that are probably like over 40, like mad. And then the way they start to act out a little bit, and just like their comments
Hmm.
and stuff. I'm like, oh, are you bothered? It's just kind of like a female, just kind of like real messy, that jealous type of thing. Like I feel like they're always watching.
Yeah.
I've had situations like that. I also had situations with men that I had, people that I don't know, but they just sit up and gossip and talk and speculate and everything. There's been times I've been at events and it's like I've walked in there just like this, like shh. I'm like, you guys are grown men.
Yeah.
Once again, like with these, maybe over
That's
35,
weird,
over
man.
40.
Like for
I do not like messy men. I do not like men who hate on other men, who are constantly talking about other men. I was not raised like that. That to me, that's not a man's man. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never seen my dad hate on another man, talk about another man, compare himself to another man. He never hung out with a bunch of men. I do not like that at all. That is a huge turnoff. Let me see. Oh, Scott said he can't stand drama. Okay, turn on. David, can you hear me? Oh, let's see.
Yeah. So turn ons. For me, a big turn on is just the intellect. I think
Mm-hmm.
I learned that I'm a bit of a sapio in that way. Like I'm very drawn to intelligent women.
Okay.
And along with that, obviously, women that are like strong and can make decisions at times for
Yeah.
themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone that is also like empathetic as well. Like if you can be and empathize with like a world that is outside of your own,
Mm-hmm.
things that don't necessarily immediately impact you, whether it's like social causes or whatever like that. But intelligence is definitely a big one for me. I need it. I require it in a relationship. So yeah, it's definitely a big turn on for me.
I think that's an amazing one. That is definitely an amazing one. And really quick, we saw some other ones. So Scott, some other guys are saying yes. Smart is sexy. We have some turn offs. Drama, yes, drama is huge. Another person commented, cool. Let me see, coolly, when a woman doesn't trust them. Yes, I have had situations where women have been, guys do have done it too, but women will. I've had women contact me because they thought that whoever they were talking to was cheating, I guess, with me. One situation was, I guess she saw some text messages in his phone that weren't to me. They were in like a group chat with some guys.
Mm.
So first of all, oh, and I'm gonna get like I don't want to get to that, but first of all, I feel like there are certain conversations that men should have with men. There are certain conversations that women should have with women. Those are our private conversations. So she saw his private conversation in a group chat with some of his homeboys. I may have been like I was somebody that was discussed, or he said something about me. I didn't know this person. They found me on Instagram.
You were the topic of conversation.
Yes, they found me on Instagram.
Yeah,
She
you're the
started
topic of
messaging me,
conversation.
started
Yeah.
commenting underneath all my pictures. So she instantly just wanted to jump to the conclusion, like was creating like spam accounts, commenting. And eventually I was like, look, I was like, I could tell that she was probably younger. I was like, baby girl, let me tell you something. I had to hit her with that baby girl. I was like, one of the worst things you can do is accuse a man of cheating, and he is not cheating. I was like, I don't know what you saw. I don't want to know what you saw. That has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with you. You need to respect to me. You should respect his conversations with his friends. But for you to try, for you not to trust him and to come attacking other women, when I know 100% for a fact, it isn't whatever you think it is. I was like, that is one of the biggest mistakes you can ever do, because eventually I feel like if you keep pushing that person to the streets and they're not in the streets, they're going to go to the streets. But it's a turnoff, because people are like, well, heck, you don't trust me anyway, So, somebody said a good listener.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole same team about that one.
Yeah, we could. And for those of you guys that are just joining me, we are just doing like a sound off. We're just going through various topics and we're giving our input. So this one was a turn off. What is a turn off for you, and a turn on when it comes to, somebody of the opposite sex or being in a relationship. All right. So I think I did my turn off as well. Let me get back. My turn off was messy men. Okay. Messy men. You can go along with jealous men, insecure men, just messy. All right. David had his was indecisiveness for the turn off. The turn on was empathy, intelligence, and all of that. David, it just sounds like you like a grown woman. You know what I'm saying? Because you also like somebody who can make decisions. That's just somebody that I feel is really mature and like grown, like a grown up. My turn on. Let me see. One of my biggest turn ons with men is, okay, so it's a few. But I'm gonna go. Why did I say all like this? Oh, okay. So I love. How do I put it? That quiet confidence. Like a little bit, not arrogant, but like a little, like a tinge of. I wouldn't even say arrogance, but maybe it's a little bit arrogance, but just that quiet confidence. A man who doesn't have to. He doesn't have to have like, be dressed to nines. He doesn't have to have Rolexes on and all of that kind of stuff. Even if he has them. But I like a man who doesn't feel like he has to dress certain things to show off. And he can walk into a room and command everyone's attention without opening his mouth. He doesn't have to be surrounded by a bunch of his boys. He doesn't have to be surrounded by a bunch of women. He just honestly 100% believes in himself, knows that he is that deal. But in knowing he is that deal, he's not, downing anybody else. So he's not going around talking to women, trying to spread lies on other men. Like, oh, don't talk to him. He's not all about that. His money isn't right. He's not doing that at all. It's just like, oh, okay, like he can appreciate another man who's on his stuff and be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Look at, my brother is, he's doing good. He looks nice. He's successful or whatever. I respect that. But then he's like, okay, I have my lane. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing good. I look good. I feel good, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's not a physical thing, but it's just that quiet confidence. I love that. I also like a man. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I also love a man who can, let me see. Scott, you know what? That's the funny thing is that I don't even stay anywhere near airport, like at all, like nowhere near. Like I'm like in the suburbs. I don't know why. Like, why are you all flying planes on a Sunday evening? Don't they know that I'm streaming? Like, but no. Okay, so I said the quiet confidence.
Trying to get home.
I know. I said the quiet confidence, and also a man who can. I think we said this. I don't want to say put his foot down, but who can lead in a way. So he's leading by example, but also when it's time for him to really speak up, like I know he's not playing. You know what I'm saying? It's like he knows how to handle the conversation to where it's not like he's chastising me like I'm a child or whatever. And it's not like he's saying like, no, you can't do this, but it's just like, hey, look, what I said is done. Like, conversation's over. You know what I'm saying? They kind of put their foot down a little bit. Like, I actually respect that. And maybe that's also the way I grew up. Like, my dad, you know, women naturally kind of more, I don't want to say naggers, but we're more like, don't do this, do this. You shouldn't be doing this. That's how my mom raised me. And my dad, on the other hand, excuse me, my dad kind of gave us a little bit more freedom. But what he would always say to me, and it used to kill me, he was like, hey, don't abuse your privilege. He was like, I trust you. Don't lose my trust. And there were times that, like, I got in trouble. Baby, when I would tell you, I would be petrified to face my dad because he would look at me and be like, you knew better. You disappointed me. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't speak on a lot. But even, like, when he spoke on something, I knew I needed to listen. And I think that's why I respect that in men. It's not like you don't have to, like, rule me with the iron fist, because I'm naturally, if you are in your space and you are doing what you're supposed to, I am naturally going to respect you. And even if there's something that I want to give a little pushback on, but if you're like, hey, babe, you know, I don't speak on a lot, speak up on a lot, but with this, it's done. What I said is the final say. So, and we're going to move on from it. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a turn on. I definitely like that.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about gossiping. Yes. Let me see. A man should be on his purpose, not all into other people's stuff 100%. Motor mouth is a total turn. Baby, motor mouth is a total turn off. Somebody said turn on. Peaceful woman, listens, supports, uplifts, encouraging with her words, joyful, honest. Yes, all of those. Sharp and witty, who can banter. Yes. I feel like I am like the queen of banter a little bit. All right. So we've done turn off, turn on. We've done once a cheater, always a cheater. Oh, David's connection messed up. So we've done once a cheater, always a cheater, turn off, turn on. And we have also done, can men and women have friends of the opposite sex? If so, do they have to be old friends? Do they need to be grandfather claused in, or can you have new friends? I am going to, there's David. Go ahead and add him back to the stream.
So, I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, you're fine. David, we already know. You guys, for those of you guys that have joined us later, David is actually out of town training, and he's somewhere close to the gym, so the Wi-Fi may be a little funky. This is his day off, so we're just glad that he's back and joining us. So, David, you know what? We got airplanes going. I feel like I hear somebody's car alarm, like a couple streets over. I got bugs, chip.
We just rolling with it. We making it happen, though.
Monks, just bear with us. That's why we're just having like this kind of like open conversation. All right. So now we are going to go to you all. The whole, wait, what is it? Oh, you know what? Okay, let's go to this one. Now, when it comes to relationships, and this isn't necessarily a question, but this is kind of like a belief. Do you believe is relationship hopping a red flag? So what I mean by that is when you have somebody who goes from relationship to relationship, is that a red flag? Yes or no?
Most definitely. I think it's one of the biggest red flags. And the worst thing about it is, like, you generally don't know until it's like too late, right? Because when you meet somebody and, you know, you introduce yourself, you get to know each other, like, you don't really know beyond what they're telling you, you know, what they're coming out of.
Right.
But I've definitely been in a few relationships to where towards the end, I realized that the relationship wasn't necessarily about the relationship. It was about this person repeating a pattern from one person to another. And it's like, dang, I just became a part of that plot, you know, and then it made sense how things kind of worked out in the end. But yeah, I think it's a huge red flag. I think it shows a deep level of insecurity within a person to not be able to sit with and kind of process themselves in between relationships. And I just wish there was a better way, like you could pinpoint it instantly, but it's not. You almost kind of take that risk getting to know someone. You don't know what their chapters were like before you walked into their story. And that can be scary.
Right. Okay, so really quick, Scott said if you have 15 failed relationships, you are the common denominator in those situations.
Scott is on to something. I'd be lying if I ain't, towards the end of a few relationships use that line, to be like, hey, whether I'm writing it or I'm verbally saying it, be like, hey,
Right,
I'm gonna leave you with this one thing.
right.
For what I know, you might be the common denominator.
Yeah, like you know
Yeah.
what? No, it's you. You know what? But I feel like there's times I'm like, is it me? No. Okay, really quick.
But see, the fact that you'll do that says a lot, right? The fact that you
Right,
can be introspective, but not everybody can do that.
right. No,
Everybody's
and there
always
are
pointing the
certain
finger.
things. There are definitely certain. And this is kind of off topic, but there are definitely certain things I feel people need to do. Whether
Mm,
you've been in 2 relationships or 4, okay? You to me, no matter how it ended, sometimes relationships just end. There's not all relationships are meant to be forever, okay? So
yeah.
sometimes they just run its course. Sometimes it could be betrayal. Sometimes it could be somebody moved away. Whatever it is, I feel like at the end of any relationship, no matter what, each person should be able to look at that and be like, and think about conversations or disagreements they have with the other person and see if anything sticks out that maybe somebody 2 years ago said, So
Yeah.
for me, if they
Yeah.
were like, okay, you shut down, like if somebody's like, you shut down quickly,
Mm,
then like I shut down quickly. I used to shut
yeah.
down like Fort Knox,
Oh,
like to
I.
where maybe to where we could be right next to each other and it's like, I don't even know you or see you,
Yep. Yeah.
but it was also
I
because,
had severe detachment issues as well,
yeah,
but what you'll notice is like as you get to learn more about yourself and then you come across those relationship hoppers, they'll try to pinpoint every little thing about you and just like
hmm,
magnify it because
right,
like as if that could be the only reason why everything is going wrong because
right,
they don't want to look in the mirror and like the fact that you can be so introspective about yourself is also a mirror to them to their
right.
insecurities and that would
That's what.
just cause them to go overdrive.
For sure, for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so me, relationship hoppers, red flag, baby. Red flag. Because the first thing for me that happens is I feel like if you don't like to be by yourself, that's a problem. If you cannot, because even if, like I said, even if it's relationships that that didn't end badly, but if you do not like to spend time alone, if you cannot be by yourself, whether it's reading a book, watching TV, or if it's nice, and it's okay, it's different. Like I know sometimes if it's nice outside, you're like, oh, I just want to be out with my friends, hanging out, or whatever, in a relationship, whatever it is. But you know what I'm saying. Like it's the same thing when people always have to be surrounded by their friends or family or in a relationship. To me, that's a red flag because it's like, why can't you be alone? Why are you scared to be by yourself? What are you running from? When
Hmm.
when it's quiet, because it's really what it is that people are running away from the quiet. Because when you're sitting in quiet, when it's quiet and you have to sit still, that's when stuff starts coming in like this, like douche, like
Yeah.
everywhere. So anything that you are running from, you have no time but to sit and kind of deal with it and face it. So it's the same thing like when people are like, they have to keep the lights on or they have to keep the TV on when they're asleep. It's like, what are you afraid of? You know what I'm saying? Why can't
Mm.
you be by yourself? Especially, so not only like hopping from relationship to relationship, but like I see body and I know people like that. So it's like they cannot be by themselves.
Yeah.
Which, if you're
Yeah.
in a relationship, there may be times that you are by yourself. You don't have to go look to start entertaining other people or other things. It's like, okay, if you don't like spending time with yourself, if you don't like being by yourself, like that's a major red flag. So I don't trust relationship hoppers. And I think it is a major red flag for several reasons. But like I said, the first one is like, oh, you must not like yourself. You don't like being by yourself or you're running
Yeah.
from something. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna leave from this man, then I'm gonna go to this man, then I'm gonna go to this man. I feel like it's healthy to have some time, alone time, in between relationships, and also when you're in a relationship, you still need to have that alone time. Everybody needs that. You do, like
Oh
I
yeah.
believe in the human connection, the power in that, but I feel everybody needs that alone time away from friends, away from your significant other, so you can spend time in self-reflection. Or sometimes, you know what, just so you can just spend time with yourself, hang out with yourself, love on yourself, talk to yourself. If you want to sit up, like I come out here sometimes and I'm just like this.
Just sitting.
Like, and people are like, oh, I know you might have your phone. Like, my phone may not even be in my hand. I'm just like literally just sitting still or whatever. But then there were years before, and I think you knew me during some of the moments, some of my really low moments, like years before, where when I was going through this whole healing phase and not even the healing phase, that's a continual thing all the time, but like really uncovering a lot of stuff that I had been running from from childhood into adulthood.
Yeah.
It used to kill me sometimes. Like if the kids were gone and nobody was around, I would be like looking for stuff to do. Like, let
Going
me see if
stir
somebody,
crazy.
right? Let me see if somebody wants to go out to eat. My treat. Let me see if one of my girls wants to go shopping. My treat. Like, because I just didn't, I wasn't ready then. It was too much. I wasn't ready to face everything. And then I was like, oh, I know what's going on. Like, I need this isolation phase. I need this isolation phase to work on the stuff I need to work on before I can continue. So,
Yeah.
let's
Be
see. We have
alone. It's really a superpower.
yes, somebody said introspection is underrated. It definitely is. Scott said people who need constant distractions are afraid of their own thoughts. They are running from themselves 100%. Somebody said, I say introspection. Oh my gosh. Yes, gracious greatness. I say introspection over the obsession with the Birkins. Yes. Like there were some posts I made before and they were talking about like the bags and hey, King Grady, they were like talking about the purses and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Forget that. Like, that's not what it's about. Like, they're like, secure the bag, get the burger. I'm like, no, get that healing, get that
Yeah.
introspection. You know what I'm saying? Get that self-awareness, get that self-reflection. Like, that's the
Yeah.
real bag. Babe, when you do that,
Yeah.
like you are unstoppable. That is the real bag. It's something that we always have to do. Like, I definitely have to sit myself down sometimes and be like, girl, get a grip. Like, you need to check yourself. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, we don't check ourselves. Like we get the oil, we get our, our oil change. We get our cars checked out. We don't even check ourselves. I'm
Check
not
on
even talking about
ourselves. Do
necessarily,
that.
right? Not even necessarily therapy and all that. That's a whole nother topic. But I mean, just regular self checks. Just check in with yourself. The good stuff,
Yeah.
the bad stuff. Just check in.
It's definitely a lost art these days, and it's just I think it's just not an easy thing to do. And as one of the guests said earlier, is like people run from themselves, and like to be able to dig deep and do that work, man, it takes a lot of mental energy, and not everybody
Yes.
is ready for that. You really have to be at a place to where you're comfortable with yourself and where you're at in life to really sit down and take inventory of what's really going on in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
we feel it with the Birkin bags, we feel it with the new cars, the career advancements, and all of these other like external things that they're like band
Yep.
aids. They help for a little period until they fall off, right? But the scar is
Mm-hmm.
still there at the end of the day because we don't want to do the work to really dig up our issues and our traumas and all of that stuff that you spoke about.
Yep. For sure. Okay, sorry guys, I was leaning in. All right, you guys, we're almost like I told you, let's go over a few topics. We have, I think, just like a few more, maybe like one more. David. So we're moving on. Oh,
What's
to
next?
okay. So the one that I made a comment on Instagram, and it was basically saying, okay, so you can have a woman, you can have women that say, oh, I want a man that makes this amount of, X amount of dollars, or I want a man that has this type of job, or I want a man that drives this kind of car, whatever it is, and then if a man says, okay, well, I want a woman that works out or exercises,
Hmm.
but there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with
No,
a
we
woman
say
saying,
that, and then we're like objectifying or being shallow. Uh, for me, it's a must. Like my lifestyle, I'm a professional athlete first and foremost, so that's like a huge part of my life.
mm-hmm,
But as far as like having that in a partner, I require it for maybe a different reason. When I see a woman that puts forth the effort to like work out consistently and take care of her body, much like women when they say, "Hey, I want a guy that makes six figures. I want a guy that has a stable job." It's all centered around stability and
mm-hmm,
having that foundation of stability to like build a relationship. So for me as a guy, when I see that, I see a woman that's putting forth that effort, that just shows me that she has a level of stability. She cares about her health and wellness. She's dedicated to a routine, which then shows me that, hey, like if she's dedicated to herself like this, maybe she can be dedicated to a relationship like that. So it's
yes.
all relative at the end of the day.
Okay. Now, do you think it's fair though? Do you think it's okay for men to say that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
For
So
sure.
I all
For
right,
sure.
I do too, because one thing is, so women do it all the time. They're like, they have these lists, women will have a list a mile long for a guy. I'm
Oh,
like, girl, you want Jesus. I don't know, you
maybe
don't want a man. You want
one I can't one that bothers me, and I don't think I'm a short guy, right? But like the women that be like, I need my man has to be over 6 feet tall, and it's
so that's
like,
a main one,
well,
yeah.
like then it's like, okay, what are you bringing to the table? Like I'm 5'8". I ain't the shortest. I ain't the tallest. Like I've dated women 6 feet tall, 5'11". I generally date women that are taller than me. It's not anything that ever bothered me. But
Right.
whenever I hear that one from a woman, it just triggers something in me that like I'm immediately turned off. I think it shows like a level of like maybe shallowness or something
Okay,
like
so
that.
that's what
Or
it is. So okay, so that is
yeah.
a big one for a lot of women. They always say, "Well, I need somebody at least 6 feet. He has to be at least 6 feet."
hmm
But if
But then
that's
but you can't go to the gym and you ain't, your waistline ain't this. You ain't got healthy habits. It's like, what are you bringing to the table?
right, and so when I said that, I never said people need to pay attention. I never said that a woman need to be a size 2, because some men don't
Yeah,
like. That's not what it's about. But it's the act of working out and exercise, like you said. It shows that they're committed to themselves, that they can care for
yeah,
themselves, that they love on themselves, and that's what stuff that you need for the relationship, and then for yourself. Like I know a lot of men, they're like, no, I don't care if she's a size 12 or a size 10, but I like a woman who works out because it
yes,
shows me X, Y, and Z. If she cares for her body, then she'll care for me. It shows me like, okay, if she's asking me to love on her and to care for her, but she doesn't care for herself, how does that turn out? And then
yeah.
working out does take some, it definitely takes some dedication,
hmm
and everything. Because like when I get up, like I threw myself out the bed Friday. Well, not just Friday, but Friday was my last like workout class. I try to work out 3 to 4 times a week, and it was 5:30 in the morning. I was just like, oh. But the reason I did it, one, I needed to do it, but also it helps me set the tone for the rest of my day. So I feel like if a woman can say, "Oh, I want a man that's 6 feet or that makes X amount of dollars," men, go ahead and tell women, if you want a woman that works out, you're not telling her that she has to be this big. Works out just means works out, baby. If you are plus size and voluptuous and curves and you're working out and exercising, work
hmm
out and exercise size. Women,
what I
work
will
out.
say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
Oh
off.
no, go
But
ahead.
what I will say as a man, one thing that I kind of do is like when you see, like, you really find out who people are when they're dealing with like stressful situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in a relationship and you're working out with a partner and you see them push themselves and you see how
Mm-hmm.
their mind calculates and deal with that stress, like that's going to be a good implication on how they deal with stress within a relationship. So
Yes.
it's always kind of been like a little tool for me to kind of gauge like, hey, like how stable is this person under duress? Like, hey, is
Yeah.
this something? Is this
Let me
someone
see
I
you.
can kind of?
Let me see you get. Like, let me see you work out. I
it's
want to see how you handle the pressure under
it's
duress.
it's a bit of a litmus test, a little bit, and like I will say it's never been off. Like most people that I've been in relationships with, that I've worked out with,
Uh-huh.
and I've seen them complain a lot, or the I can'ts, or get
Mm-hmm.
emotional when it gets hard and the duress comes in the relationship. It's the I can't, and they complain and they get emotional. But I've also seen some women be able to like buck up even if they fail at something.
Right.
Their mindset, their attitude. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm generally gauging in like those situations, and I think they definitely correlate.
Yes. Okay, let's get on this weight thing real quick. Michael, I'm loving it. The love weight. And then Scott said something about his wife after 2 sons. Yes. And see, that's the thing, guys. When I made this comment, some women were like, men shouldn't choose our size. I said nothing. It had nothing to do with weight or nothing to do with size. Working out, I know plenty. I was a trainer for years. I had plenty of women who worked out and exercised because it just made them feel, it was a stress reliever. It's like the heart health. It's not just like the physical, like, oh, let me get my waist snatched. We live in that whole world where everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to go get their waist snatched and get these hips and these big butts and everything. That
But they
doesn't
want to
mean
work
that
for it.
you're investing with some money, but that's different than somebody who actually gets up and goes to work out and exercise and actually puts their body in their mind and their spirit through the motions, because it's like therapy a lot. And also a lot comes out when people are working out. But so that's the thing. Some people they were instantly getting defensive, like, oh, you shouldn't say anything about somebody's weight. It had nothing to do with weight. It just means the act of, Scott, here comes the airplane. This is for you. It just means the act of working out and exercising, like it's work ethic. Like Scott said, it's work ethic. Like you said, work ethic. And it shows it shows love on yourself. That means you can love me. If you get up and you can do this for yourself, that means what you can add to the relationship. David said he likes to see women under duress.
First of all, no.
But no, how they handle pressure. No, I'm just kidding. How they handle pressure. And yeah, when people give up, because there are times like when I used to train women, we would be in there, like I would have women who would start crying in the middle of their workouts. Not necessarily because it was physically hard, but they had other stuff going on. They may have been stressed at work. Their kids were acting up, their marriages or their relationships. And so when they're working out, all that started to come out. And that's why they used to be in there sometimes, like the emotions come out. It comes into a therapy session. So I think it's something really good. If I'm with a guy and he's like, hey, well, I know you work out, but I would like for you to keep working or whatever, because I do work out now. But if somebody was like, hey, I like a woman that works out. That's one of the things that I want a woman to do is work out. Why am I going to get butthurt and be like, oh, I can't believe you want me to work out and make myself better? Okay, sign me up. Now you can help pay for one of those memberships or for some personal training classes, if you want to. But it's like, okay, fine. Like I don't really see what the big deal is, and we have to stop doing allowing women to say certain things, but we don't hold men to the same accountability. So we're letting women say, oh, somebody has to be 6 feet. They have to make this much. They have to do this. But when a man says, okay, cool, bet, but I want a woman that does this, and this, it's like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's attacking me. Oh, he wants me to look like this. We got to stop that. People get so offended about like every single thing. Okay, let's see some of these. Oh, yeah. Like they don't cook, but they want him to have long money. Yes, all of these. But that's the thing. Like you have to be able, whatever it is, it has to go both ways. We cannot demand something of somebody or even say like, hey, I want you to have this, and this. But when they turn it on us and say, oh, okay, cool. Well, I want you to be able to do this, and this, or yeah, I don't mind providing, but I would like to have, 4 cooked meals a week. That's not a lot. It's like, oh, he wants me to be a slave. Now I have to be in the kitchen. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? It can't. It has to be a toss up. All right. I'm trying to think what else. Are those all the topics you guys? We didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of topics. I think that was it. Dave, did you have one more before we get off of here? We were just touching on a few.
No, I think we hit everything. I mean, if there's anything else, but I think that was a good stuff.
Okay, so we did. Once a cheater, always a cheater. David said no. I said no. We do understand there's certain circumstances because there are some people that will always cheat because they're cheating on themselves. It's a lot deeper. Can men and women have friends of the opposite sex? When you get to a certain level, I feel like no. Some people said no, you cannot have friends of the opposite sex. You should not. We also talked about is relationship hopping a red flag. We actually both agreed to that. Or whatever. Yes, relationship hopping is definitely a red flag for various reasons.
Yes, indeed.
Some people chimed in and said it's because you don't want to be alone with your own thoughts. You're running from yourself. David said it shows insecurity. I believe the same thing. It shows that you can't spend time with yourself. If you don't like spending time with yourself and you have to be with somebody, that's a red flag. Also, what if I'm not around? What if I go to South Africa for 2 weeks? Can I not trust you? You know what I'm saying? Can I not trust you because you can't be by yourself? So we believe that is definitely a red flag. The whole, I want a man that's 6 feet or a man that makes this much money. And that's okay for women to say. It's okay for women to have those lists and those, qualifiers, so to speak. But if a man says, oh, okay, well, I want a woman who exercises or works out, or I want a woman who cooks, like somebody said, I want a woman who cooks and takes, keeps up a nice home. Well, you can't make it seem like he's trying to push you back into Susie Homemaker and he's telling you to do your career and he wants you to be a slave. You can't do that because also now you're trying to put him out there like he's a trick. So when you say you want a man that makes a certain amount of money and to look a certain way, be 6 feet tall, it's like, okay, well, are you putting him off like he's just like a trick? Like, okay, I just want you for your money. Okay. What else did we talk about? I think, we did turn off, turn on. We went through those. Turn off for David was a woman who was indecisive. Turn on was a woman who can make decisions, a woman who is empathetic and who is intelligent. Turn off for me was messy men, gossipy men, messy men. Turn on was a confident man, that quiet confidence, and a man who, when it's time, because I do get a little pushback back sometimes, I like to kind of tote that line and see how far I can go, who can kind of put his foot down and say, like, well, not in a nice way, like, hey, babe, I spoke. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to, don't give me more, back and forth. Like, I've spoken. I can respect that. We had some people that said smokers. They don't like that. They don't like drama. Another person said they do not like a woman who cannot trust them. I 100% agree. Cannot trust them off that. Like, I agree with that. Nobody wants to be with anybody, who does not trust them, who's always speculating. Like, did you do something? Where are you at? Like, nobody likes that. And then I think that was really about it, you guys. We just did a few sound offs on this kind of stuff. Oh wait, who's this? Sorry. Some dads want to be involved in the upbringing of their children, but the mama. Yes, and I was going to say something about that.
I heard something. I heard something the other day. It was like a lot of kids grow up thinking they have deadbeat dads when they really just had spiteful mothers. Like,
no, we
like that is.
For sure. I posted something the other day. I was like, a lot of you all think like, well, he's not the father he should be. I was like, he's not the father he should be because she's not the mama that she should be. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of women, like, now it's graduation season and then we're going to sign off. Like, now you got graduation. It's also wedding season, depending on how old your kids are. There are certain, so I hope somebody, I might have my guy Paul clip this out. This is a public service announcement. Right now, you all, graduation season, prom season, we have wedding season. There are certain moments that you can never get back, okay? So to my mothers out there, if you and the father do not get along, I don't care. You don't have to like him, but you cannot keep him from that person's graduation. If they're coming from high school, college, whatever, you cannot keep them from the graduation parties. You should not keep them from the proms. You should not keep anybody from the weddings, anything like that. And even if you're there, kumbaya. Do you hear me? Kumbaya. It's not going to last forever. Make peace and then go your separate ways, but do not ruin that moment for your child. I don't care how old they are. Like I said, I don't care if they're graduating from high school, from college, from medical school. I don't care if they're getting married or whatever. Whatever it is, you need to be able to come to that like celebration for your child, celebrate them, celebrate their moment. Let the other parent, let their father come in and celebrate as well. And any BS you got going on, any unresolved hurt, any ill will, feelings, anything, set them aside. Nobody cares about you right now. This is not about you. And now I'm speaking in terms where it's not an abusive situation. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything where there's like restraining orders involved. I just mean two people that aren't together, but you got that bitter baby mama attitude. Leave that mess at home because it's going to hurt your child. They will never forgive you. You look back on your graduation, you remember that. You remember your proms. You remember the weddings and all of that. And they deserve to have both parents there, both parents representing them in love and in a time of celebration. So get the hell over yourself, okay? You're not together. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Who cares? That moment is not about you at all. That's all I have to say. Same team, David. Thank you for joining us. And
thanks for having me. I always love being here.
Thank you for joining us for our little same team sound off. You guys, we were just touching, like I said, on a few topics. We will do this some more. I'm still getting used to YouTube. I got to learn how to pin my comments and all that. So you guys can start coming up with topics and conversations and we can just have them together. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us. Have an amazing evening. Also, real quick, thank you for dealing with the bugs and the airplane sounds. Okay, fireworks right now. That means it's time to get off. Have an amazing week on purpose, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Wait, let me end this, guys.